What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and I'm here once again to give you the most comprehensive NBA player prop preview you are likely to see. If it's your first time watching these videos, I do this every single night. I share Outlier, we go through my screen, I tell you what I like, I tell you what I don't, and I do all this to give you all the information that you need to make the best bets possible. And we got back to winning days yesterday. If you did tell my tips, you'd be laughing right now. So we cashed in 7.16 units profit. We took Jason Tatum over 8.5 rebounds at plus money. We took Peyton Pritchard over his points line, Kyrie Irving over his points line, Russell Westbrook cashed every single prop of his. CJ McCollum, we faded his points and took the under. Jonas Valanciunas in the first quarter was an absolute beast. And if you want to talk about value plays, we hit 2 out of 3 value plays. Kyrie for 20 points, 25 points, and 7 rebounds. Peyton Pritchard over points and over his assists. 7.1 units in the profit. I'm a happy man. And another thing that's making me happy was a lot of you guys, the people who watch this every single day. I want to say thank you. You really uplifted my spirit. I couldn't believe how many positive comments I got in that last video. After 2 losing days, I was feeling like ass. I'm not going to lie. But a lot of you guys really supportive in the comments. Comments about me being the GOAT, even though I'm not. You are the GOAT. You guys keep me uplifted. No toxic behavior. I just want to say I appreciate you. And let's jump into this preview, shall we? We've got 3 juicy games on the slate. Magic, Cavaliers, 76ers, Knicks, Lakers, Nuggets. Let's go. So we're kicking things off with the Orlando Magic versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Sure to be a grind. Total points projected at 203 points. Cavs 5.5 point favorites. If you were following the first game, a lot of players struggled in this game. Didn't go according to plan. I got absolutely blasted. I haven't looked at any of the prop lines for any of these games, so I'll be seeing these lines for the very first time. But hopefully we can find something of value and keep hitting those bangers. In terms of lineups, there's 3 bench players for the Cavs who are game time decisions who probably won't play anyway. There's a chance Dean Wade might get a minute or 2, but yeah, nothing in here. Seems out of the ordinary. A lot of props and a lot of players are available. So let's hit on the key ones and we'll see what we can find. We'll start with the Orlando Magic, and we'll start with Paolo Banchero. He's had a pretty strong first game. A lot of, turnovers, I believe, but for the most part, he filled up the stat sheet. It was good to see. He had 24 points in that last game. Looking at his points line, his line is at 22.5. Let's analyze that last game a little bit more for his points. He played 41 minutes, and yeah, I'd expect him to play another 40 minutes in this game. In this game, he only shot the ball 17 times, though, so his usage rate quite low. He did make 9 shots, shot 53% from the field, which is a lot better than what he'd normally do. He shot 2 from 7 from deep, which is pretty much on par with what he's capable of doing. But if we look at his points line in head-to-head matchups against Cleveland Cavaliers, he's hit this in 3 of 8 games now. So leading up into that last game against Cleveland, he had only covered in 2 of 7. Off that last matchup, look, I'd probably lean to the over in his points prop, to be honest. But at the time, his trends against the Cavs haven't been great. But in these games against Cleveland, that last game was the only time he played 40-plus minutes. So he's going to see more opportunities than he had previously had. So that's over 22.5 at minus 102. It honestly isn't such a bad play. But just looking at it briefly, I think we can find something better. But for now, I don't mind that. Probably won't bet it, but I don't mind it. Looking at his assist numbers, though, he's cashed this in 6 out of his last 10 games. He only had 5 assists in that last game against Cleveland. The Magic only scored 83 points in that game, so difficult to get assists when no one can get buckets. Banchero in head-to-head matchups, he's hit this in only 1 of 8 games against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Look at his potential assists. He had 14 potential assists in that last game against Cleveland. Only managed to connect on 5 of them. So if he's going to get 14 potential assists, man, I do like his chances, to be honest. I need to look at the tape, figure out why the Magic shot so poorly. Could be nerves, right? It's the first playoff series for a lot of these players. They're probably better conditioned for the run. So Banchero's assist prop, I also don't hate that, believe it or not. And I hate betting on this guy. Let's take a look at his rebound prop. 7.5. He's cashing 4 of his last 10. 7 boards in that last game against Cleveland, going under this line. And pretty inconsistent. 3 out of 8 games he's covered this against Cleveland. He had 18 rebound chances in that last game. Was only able to secure 7, which is quite wild. But the opportunities are definitely here for Banchero in points, rebounds, and assists. I think they're all there. But Probably the one I like the most would be his points plus assists based off what I'm looking at. Now he'd go over his points, just went under his assist prop. I think he's very much capable of going over both. So if you look at points plus assists, you'd be looking at 27.5. He's cashed this in 6 out of his last 10. In terms of shooting, he might shoot the ball more. Only took 17 shots in that last game after playing 41 minutes. He's clearly the best player on this team. You'd expect, I guess, higher attempts and assists, right? Had so many potential assists. His teammates weren't able to cash. So the potential to get more assists were definitely on the table there for Banchero. I'm going to add this to my short list, believe it or not. Hopefully the list remains short, because if I end up with like 30 bloody players on this thing, it's going to be a long night for me. But Banchero, I don't mind him, to be honest. I don't mind him. I think the only way is up. Well, not the only way. He can definitely go down. But I definitely think there's more room for Banchero to grow and improve on that last performance. Let's look at Franz Wagner. Now, Franz, good matchup here against the Cavs. Don't defend threes very well, but Franz was only able to score 18 points. So he's cashed this 18.5 point line in 5 out of his last 10 games. Against the Cavs, it continues to be a struggle, hitting in only 2 of his last 8, but he is getting very close to this line. So let's dive a little bit further into his activity to see what we can find. He played 37.5 minutes against the Cavs in that last game, so not a big uplift on what he normally sees. Shot 7 for 15. So again, his field goal attempts, that 15 is right around his average. So I can't guarantee Franz gets a higher usage in this game. He's not their number one option. Played a similar amount of minutes, took a similar amount of shots that he has been. So I don't know if there's much room for potential unless there's something changes in terms of coaching. So let's have a look at his assist prop. 3.5's the line. He had 3 assists in that last game against Cleveland, connecting in 2 out of his last 10. In head-to-head matchups, covering in 4 out of his last 8. Now, Franz, very similar to Banchero. A lot of potential assists in that game. 13 potential assists, and he only finished with 3. My Lord. The Cavs are making it tough out there. So you can check it out here. Last 10 games, 13 potential assists, so much higher than what he normally gets. Looking at his last 20, 13 potential assists, still the most he's had. If we look at the season, let's check this out. Potential assists. So he's exceeded 13 potential assists, twice? 2 times. And in these games, what did he have? 5 assists here against Miami, and he had against Phoenix. So he's had high potential assist numbers before, and it doesn't necessarily lead to a lot of assists. So I guess the Magic lacking some shooters out there. So yeah, the potential assists are there, but I'm not loving the play here for Franz. If we look at his rebound prop, 5.5 is the line. It is plus money. He had 7 rebounds against Cleveland in that last game. 13 rebound chances. He had 6 defensive rebounds, only 1 offensive rebound. At first, I thought maybe he got a lot of offensive boards because the Magic couldn't hit shit, but he didn't get that. So rebound chances, 13 rebound chances in head-to-head matchups. He's cashing 4 out of his last 8. That 13 rebound chances quite high in comparison to his last few games. So I'm not personally loving anything here for Franz. Who else do we have? We've got Jonathan Isaac. So Jonathan Isaac scheduled to start this game at center. I don't know what the science is behind that, but let's take a look at his lines. His line's at 9.5, cashing in 3 out of his last 10 games. He did points in that last matchup against Cleveland. He played 28.7 minutes. He shot the ball 8 times. He only shot 3 for 8 from the field, which is quite interesting. I'm looking at previous head-to-head matchups, 7, 7, and 10. So all of these games were this season. In those games, 6, 8, and 8 shot attempts. So he hasn't shot a very high percentage against them. But the last game where he played 28 minutes, the most minutes that he has seen for quite some time. So what I'd probably do for a situation like this is you want to probably jump onto Google if you haven't already. Have a look at the player, check out the news, look at the headlines, and see what the hell is going on. So I'm just having a quick Google search now to figure out what news is there on Jonathan Isaac at the moment. Why is he starting? What does the coach have in mind? So I'm just reading through a quick article now, having a quick skim, and what can we see? All right, so it looks like the move for Jonathan Isaac starting in place of Wendell Carter Jr. is really to improve the Magic's defense. The defensive rating this year when Isaac started at center was so much better in comparison to Wendell Carter Jr. Improves them a lot defensively, but it does slow them down more offensively. which means it puts more pressure on Banchero. Looks like the coach is going to make better rotations to look to keep Franz or Banchero on the court at all times because the Magic bench was awful. They got outscored by a lot in very limited minutes. So Jonathan Isaac is going to get minutes, but the minutes he's there to play defense. But that doesn't mean my man can't score some points, right? So, look, I'm not going to take this line. There's not enough of a sample size for me to look at really, but let's muck around with it. Let's look at Jonathan Isaac when he plays at least 28 minutes. What we can see is there's only one game. The only game this season where he's played more than 28 minutes was that very last one. So there's not a big sample size here for Jonathan Isaac. So I wouldn't be mucking around with him. Who else is there for the Orlando Magic? We're gonna have a look at Mo Wagner. So I did bet on Mo Wagner last time over 7.5 points. His line is still at 7.5. He scored 10 points in that last match against Cleveland. Only played 13 minutes though, so it's amazing that he was able to do so much damage in such limited time. But also the bench got severely outscored whenever they went on. Mo was great. I think Cole Anthony struggled. Wendell struggled. So I'm just thinking, do we take the same play back to back with Mo Wagner? He's obviously covered at 80% rate in his last 10. His games against Cleveland, he's covered in 7 out of his last 8 now. Yeah, I don't see shouldn't take it. So I'm going to put this on my short list purely because he's treated me nicely. Let's have a look. He even covered his rebounds line from what I remember in that last game. 3.5 plus money for 3.5 here for Mo. He had 5 rebounds in 13 minutes against Cleveland, which is excellent. He's hit this in 7 out of his last 8 games against Cleveland and 6 out of his last 10. So, yeah, I'm going to take that rebound line as well. We might have a same game parlay going on here for Mo Wagner. I think last time I got greedy with it. I took him for 15 points and 5 rebounds or something. Cashed his rebounds, obviously, but he only scored 10 points, but he only got 13 minutes. So I'm going to do a deeper dive into Mo Wagner and see if there's any value in it. And if you see me betting on him, that means I think there's value in it. So that's my man Mo. Who else do we have? Joe Ingles. Now, Joe Ingles, somebody with a very high hit rate for his lines. He cashed his PRA in that last game, but he only played 14 minutes. What did he have? He had 1 point. I think his rebounds and assists he did very well in. He had 2 assists and he collected 4 rebounds. Yeah. So his rebounds plus assist line, I think it was 4.5. He got 6 in this game. So rebounds plus assists could be a good play, but even just the PRA for Joe, 6.5, he got 7. His hit rate on this is amazing. He's hit it in all 5 games against the Cleveland Cavaliers this year, but the concern is there. He's only the minutes aren't there. That's the issue. So you'd be hoping for a very productive short stint from my man Joe Ingles. Now let's have a look at Jalen Suggs. Actually, Jalen Suggs, his points line 12.5. What did he do? Scored 13 points in that last game. I'm assuming he didn't shoot the ball very well, but let's take a look. 13 points, 7 out of his last 10 games, and 2 out of his last 7 against the Cleveland Cavs. So that last game was actually better than he had been playing against them so far this year. He played only 32 minutes. He shot, 4 for 16. So this is why Banchero didn't get a lot of assists. Surely, this guy right here. Because a lot of these, I don't believe he's creating his shot that often. A lot of these are spot ups. So Jalen Suggs shot 4 for 16, still scored 13 points. All right. If we're going to see that type of activity from Suggs, we might be onto something here. What did he play? 32 minutes? Yeah. So let's filter this season where Suggs plays at least 32 minutes. What do we say? He's covered this line in 9 of 13 games where he plays 32 plus minutes in head-to-head matchups. That last game against Cleveland was the first time he played 32 plus minutes against them. So if Jalen Suggs can stay on the court for that long and still take that number of shots, he shot the ball terribly. 4 for 16. What was he from deep? So 4 for 16. He was 1 from 7 from downtown. I'd definitely take him at a bounce back spot here. But at the same time, he's had a lot of games here where he shot poorly. 36%, 33%, 33%, 38%, 30%, 43%. My God. All right. So he just doesn't shoot at high volume by the looks of it. But 1 from 7 from deep is very bad. That's 14%. 4 for 16 is awful. So this is a game that he's had in quite some time. I'm going to have a look at I'll have a deeper look into it. See what we can find for Jalen Suggs. All right, had enough of these Orlando Magic players. Let's jump into these Cleveland Cavaliers. So I made a error in taking Darius Garland over in his points in the last game. I think the line of 17.5 We now see it at 15.5 because he scored 14 points in that last matchup against Orlando. Now he's covered this in 4 out of his last 10 in head-to-head matchups. He had been doing extremely well into that last game against Orlando, and this is why I took it, right? A lot of the numbers were ticking all the right boxes, but Darius Garland only played 32 minutes in that last game. So I don't know why he would only play 32 minutes. I guess they blew them out nice and early. But 32 minutes for me seems quite low, especially in the regular season. He was playing games 39, 40 minutes. Like 32 minutes, what the hell's going on there? Could it have been foul trouble? Possibly. He had 4 fouls in that game against Orlando. So it could have been foul trouble, right? But Darius Garland, I know that the way that he plays, but maybe this is the Jonathan Isaac effect as well. If there's a lot of pick and rolls, Jonathan Isaac, they can switch. He can defend the perimeter. Makes it very difficult for someone like Darius Garland to get his shots off. Only attempted 11 shots in that game too. So that's the lowest he's had in his last 5 games against Orlando. Only 11 shot attempts. Yeah, so this is a play that I'd probably still lean to the over on the 15.5. A 2-point reduction based off that last game is not going to scare me. So I'm going to look at Darius there. I don't mind the hit rate, the volume. I want to look into the last game just to double check. Was it foul trouble, coaching? Was he shit when he was on there? I do not know. So I look at Darius Garland's points. Turning to his assists, the line is at 6.5. He did have 8 assists in that last matchup against Orlando. Now he's cashed in 8 of his last 10. In head-to-head matchups, he's cashed in 4 out of his last 6. In this game, only 11 potential assists. So made it count. I think there was a lot of Jared Allen in the dunker spot, I believe. But one play that might be of interest here is his points plus assists, 22.5. He did have only 22 of those in the last game. He did cash in the prior 5, but he did cover his points line in those games too. So, yeah, I think the assist play is okay. I think the points prop is better. But 15.5 points, yeah, the 15.5 points I do definitely like, because if you're looking at his points prop of 15.5, he's hit that in 32 of 58, 55% of games this season and 83% of games against the Orlando Magic. So that's Darius Garland. Just leaning at the moment because based on what else I find, it might change my mind. Now, Donovan Mitchell, he had an amazing game against Orlando, absolutely killed them. 30 points in a low-scoring game. He scored 30 out of Cleveland's 97 points. 3 games in a row where he's covered this line of 25.5. In head-to-head matchups, he's now covered in 4 out of his last 7. Now, let's have a look at what happened in that last game. He played 36 minutes. That's what he normally plays. In terms of field goal attempts, shot the ball 21 times. That's what he normally does. He did shoot the ball at 52%. It was a little bit higher than what he normally would. And from deep, he shot 3 from 8, 38%, which is very much in line with his average. If we're talking about free throws, got to the line 5 times, made 5 threes, so 5 free throws. So the 5 free throws, very much in line with what he would normally do. So he shot a higher shooting percentage than he normally would, which is partly why he's covered this line in this game. So, yeah, I wouldn't feel confident in taking the 25.5 because the activity here for Donovan Mitchell, 21 points. What are we looking at? 21 attempts. On the season, he's averaging 19.8 shot attempts. Obviously, had a few low games coming back from injuries, and that's just right about here. There are a lot of games where he shot the ball 10 to 12 times and played limited minutes. So back playing 36 minutes, attempting about 20 to 21 shot attempts. I feel like this line is just about right. And I wouldn't feel confident betting his over. But let's look at his assists, though. The line is at 4.5. It's plus money. He only had 3 assists in that last game against Orlando. He only had 7 potential assists. Now, obviously, if he's the main man scoring, doesn't need so many assists, I would say. And in these playoffs, I doubt we're going to see a lot of repeat performances. Just because it happened in game 1 doesn't mean it's going to happen in game 2. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Donovan Mitchell absolutely dime up, right? Because what are the Orlando Magic going to be planning for? To stop this man from scoring another 30 points. They'll force the ball out of his hands and potentially turn him into a shot creator, to create shots for other players. So this 4.5 assist line I don't mind for Donovan Mitchell. 7 potential assists in that last game, and I feel like he wasn't necessarily creating for others. His last 10 games, he does average 8.9 potential assists. And just looking at against the Magic, 9.6 potential assists. So quite a few games this year. 2 games in particular where he had 13 and 15 potential assists. So I think there could be something on there. But you'd have to be off the mindset and have the script in your mind. Donovan Mitchell not going to score as much, is going to create a lot more. But I think there's a bit of value in this one. I just can't predict whether this is going to happen. But I'll add it to my short list and we'll see what we come up with. Looking at his rebound prop, that line's at 4.5. He's cashed in 2 out of his last 7 against Orlando. Only had 2 rebounds, which is crazy because there were a lot of rebounds available in that last game. He only had 4 rebound chances, which is not very good. 2 out of his last 10 games, he's covered this line in. It's about 6.1 rebound chances, and the line's at 4.5. So that seems a lot. It seems quite high, in my opinion, for someone who's not getting so many rebound chances. What are we looking at on the season? Donovan Mitchell, he's averaging 5 rebounds on the season on 8.3 potential on rebound chances. If we look at these last 10 games, he's getting 6 rebound chances. So he would need to, what are we looking at? An extra 2 rebound chances easily in order to get close to this rebound line. Yeah, it feels a little bit too obvious, to be honest. But based off these numbers, I'd back the under. I'm not going to add it to my short list, though, because I've got a sneaky feeling in my gut that someone's up to something shady. All right, let's have a look at Max Strus. Now, Max Strus is one of the players that I did consider taking over for rebounds and assists. I didn't. And he had a monster rebounding game, which is a huge outlier. So I don't want to overreact to that. But let's take a look. His points line, though, is at 9.5, had 7 points against Orlando. In head-to-head matchups against him this year, he's covered in 3 out of the 5. Not overly keen on taking his prop. He shot 3 from 8, which is quite low. Look, 38% on the season. What did he shoot? He shot 41%. So it's not actually too low to what he normally does. So not like a Max Strus to score some points in this game. Let's look at his assists. He only had 1 assist against Orlando, 4 potential assists. Darius Garland did a lot of that. Head-to-head matchups this year, averaging 5.6 potential assists. So the 4 is quite low in comparison to what he'd normally do. But looking at his rebounds, 4.5's the line. 9 rebounds in that last game against Orlando, 11 rebound chances. He averages 6.2 against the Magic. On the season, he's averaging 8.3 rebound chances. So typically against the Magic, his rebound chances are a little bit lower, but on the season, averaging 8 rebound chances. So it's a massive outlier to see him to get 11. At 8 rebound chances, he'll probably get 4 to 5 rebounds, which is why we see the line at 4.5. So I can't see an edge in this one for Max Strus. As a sports bettor, you don't want to overreact to one good game, because obviously the sports books aren't reacting to one big game. But what you need to keep an eye out for is if the public overreact to one good game or bad game, which forces lines to move, and then bet the opposite. So that's one thing I'd encourage you to keep your eye on, especially if you're taking your bets a lot closer to the game time. That's one thing I'd strongly get you to consider. Now, Evan Mobley, his points prop was one that I was strongly considering in that last game. I had to choose between him and Darius Garland. I ended up going with Darius Garland, but Evan Mobley's the one that cashed. So his line's at 14.5, and he does a plus money play. He did score 16 points against the Magic, played 36 minutes. The reason why I was taking it is this. Pretty strong form against the Magic. The line in the last game was 13.5, so this has moved up 1 point. But he's been right around it. These are the games this year, 16, 14, and 16. So not amazing. His minutes, somewhat consistent. Shot attempts, consistent. 50% from the field. So I think this, honestly, I think this line is smack bang on where it needs to be. I wouldn't feel confident taking the over or the under. I think it's where it has to be. But for those of you who are looking at alternate lines, Evan Mobley for 10 points, put it straight in. I think that's cashing for sure. Looking at his assists, though, line's at 2.5. He only had 2 assists in that last game against Orlando. Past games had gotten a lot of assists against them, but he only had 3 potential assists in that game. So this is the playoffs. You could see a repeat of that. I wouldn't call that an outlier. So no interest on his assist prop. Looking at his rebounds, line is at 9.5. 3 out of his last 10, though. 11 rebounds against Orlando. And in head-to-head matchups, a little bit patchy, right? 2 out of his last 6. Lows of 3, highs of 11. I thought the Orlando Magic would shot terribly, like so bad in that very first game. They started off so poorly that really gave a lot of rebound chances to the opposition. So, look, I'd probably lean to the under on this, but yeah, with no confidence at all. So I don't like his rebound prop. I wouldn't even take an alternate. You don't know what you're going to get here for Evan Mobley. I think the best pick out of that, just take 10 points for an alternate line, perhaps. That could be some good value for you. Next one is Jarrett Allen. Jarrett Allen had a massive game against the Magic. So his line's at 14.5. He scored 16 points against Orlando in game one. He's cashed this in 7 out of his last 10 games. Looking at his games against Orlando, he's now cashed in 3 out of his last 7. His last 2 games, he's cashed against them. He's played them, 3 times this year? 5 times now this year. Now, we do have Jonathan Isaac at center. He does have length, but not the size that Jarrett Allen has. Let's have a look at Jarrett Allen's last game. 35 minutes. He shot 6 from 10 from the field. So he shot attempts very much in line with where he normally is. 4 from 6 from the free throw line. And that's where we saw the increase in previous games, 3.3 attempts against them. On the year, he's taking 4 free throws per game, shooting the ball 10 times. So we can see he still shot the ball 10 times. Where he's made his extra buckets is getting to the line. So extra free throws for Jarrett Allen. I'd imagine that it wouldn't be so easy the next time these teams match up based off what I just read from Coach from the Orlando Magic. So not loving the points prop there. An interesting one could be the rebounds. So he got 18 rebounds in that last game. Not many offensive rebounds though. Check it out. 3 offensive rebounds, 15 defensive rebounds. The Magic shot absolutely terribly. I'm not saying the Magic are going to shoot that much better, but I'm pretty confident saying Jarrett Allen's not going to get 18 rebounds again. But the line at 11.5 for plus money, I'm not sure if I want to play with that. That still is quite a high line because he's only cashed this in 2 of 7 games against the Magic. This season, he cashed this line in 29 of 78 games. And you just think about how many shit teams there are, especially defending fives and stopping them getting boards. The playoffs come around and it's usually the better teams up against each other who are better at rebounding, better defensively, will have schemes. And obviously, one key point on the scouting report is going to be limit Jarrett Allen, get him off the glass, right? So, yeah, I think he probably does go, but I'm not man enough to take him at 11.5, to be honest. So, yeah, I'm not really feeling this one too much for Jarrett Allen. And the last one's probably Karis LeVert. So Karis LeVert, I expected him to have a better game than he did. He only scored 5 points against Orlando, but he only played 19.8 minutes. So a lot lower than what he'd typically see throughout the regular season. 19.8 points. If we look at his attempts, he only shot 2 from 8. So he shot the ball poorly, didn't make a 3, got to the line once, shot 2 free throws. So his line is at 8.5. If he plays 20 minutes and he takes 8 shots, what is he? He shot 46% in his last 10. This season, he shoots 42%, so not the highest percentage. At 42% with 8 shots, you're probably only making 1 or 2 extra points. That only takes you to 8, right? So I think this line is just about right if we forecast Karis LeVert to play only 20 minutes in this game. In head-to-head matchups against Orlando, has had his difficulties in the past. Looking at his minutes, yeah, they're somewhat inconsistent. That 19.8, the 20 minutes in the last game, the lowest out of all the times he's played them. So, yeah, with Karis LeVert points, I'd be quite hesitant on that. Looking at his assists, 2.5 assists the line. He only had 2 assists in the last time he played them. He had 6 potential assists in that game. So, yeah, Karis LeVert, probably, I wouldn't take any props on him. Main concerns there are minutes. So if Karis LeVert's not getting minutes, I'm not sure if I could play that. So I think, actually, one other player that I think is worth a look would be someone like Cole Anthony. So that Magic bench was terrible in that first game, which is the main reason why they lost. Their starters actually kept it quite close, but the bench unit is where they were let down. Now, Cole Anthony only scored 4 points. He only got 11 minutes of game time, but that game time was cut short because of how much they were losing whenever that bench was on the court. What did he do? He shot 0 for 7, right? 0 from 7 for Cole Anthony. Now, this is similar to Jalen Suggs. He can put games like this back to back. Given the magnitude and the importance of this game, I would expect someone like Cole Anthony to respond a lot better than that. He's not going to go into his shell. He's a pretty confident player out there. Still scored 4 points, 4 free throws. So that shows a little bit of aggressiveness. So he got to the line twice and shot the ball 7 times in only 11 minutes. So if Cole Anthony is going to stay that aggressive, I honestly don't mind this 5.5 points at plus 128, because the solution for this can't be to play him less minutes because he didn't play well in the first game. Because who do they have? Markel Fultz. Markel Fultz ain't going to give you any offense. And this is where the Orlando Magic are struggling. They can't score points. Keeping in mind, if you flip it, you can say they held the Cleveland Cavaliers to only 97 points. That is enough. That's enough these days. But the problem is they only scored 83. They've got Banchero, Franz, and then I would say Cole Anthony as key scorers. Now, if you're looking at averages, he's clearly not. Other players do average more points than Cole Anthony. But if you're talking pound for pound, points per minute, Cole Anthony is definitely up there. On the season, 11.48 points per game in only 22 minutes, which is crazy. If he was playing normal starter minutes of 30 to 35 minutes, he's probably getting about 17 points per game. I didn't finish school, so my math's not great. But Cole Anthony, I think he can have a big game here. So 5.5 points is his line for scoring. Let's take a look at his assists, though. That line's at 1.5. He's cashed this in 5 out of his last 10. In head-to-head matches against Cleveland, up until this game, he had covered this in 7 consecutive games. But also, keeping in mind, he was playing a lot more minutes back in those days. But even with 11 minutes, he's shown in the past he can cash these. If you're looking at potential assists, he got 0 potential assists in that last game, obviously. He was there for 11 minutes, shot the ball 7 times, and got to the line for 4 attempts. So no time to pass the ball for Cole Anthony. So I'm probably not looking at his assist prop right now. If I think about who he's on the court with, not too many options to pass to. So, yeah, I think the points line, I think there could be some value in that. Rebounds, I'm not man enough to play his rebound line. Both teams, great rebounding teams. Cole Anthony's going to be the smallest guy on the court. I wouldn't entertain that. But points, 5.5 points, it's got my attention. So, doing a quick recap on what I have so far. Banchero points and assists, Mo Wagner points and rebounds, Suggs points on volume, Garland points, Donovan Mitchell over his assists, and Cole Anthony over his points. So I'll dissect all those, tear them to shreds, do some more research. If you're interested in tailing what I tell, you'll be able to find it in the pinned comment. Obviously, there are chapters for each and every game because I'm a talkosaurus and it looks like I'll be talking for a long time. So let's jump into the next game. It's the Philadelphia 76ers versus the New York Knicks. Joel Embiid is a game-time decision. He re-injured a bloody knee in that last game. It was a great play. Went out. I didn't think he'd come back. Then put the game back on, and he was on there. Still had a fairly strong game. So let's talk about how this game goes. The projected total here, 207.5 points. The Knicks a 5-point favorite. So let's talk through it. All right, so let's take a look at these 76ers first, and we've got to go with Joel Embiid. Now, despite the injury concerns, his line is at 29.5 points, and I don't understand it. 29.5. I wouldn't say this is a do or die game. He did suffer an injury in the second half. He clearly wasn't quite himself in that first game, so automatically my gut says to take the under in this. The 29.5 seems like a lot, but Embiid can score in other ways. I scored 29 points in that last game against the Knicks. Now, 5 out of his last 10 games he's hit on. He's also hit in 4 of his last 5. Up until that last game, he'd covered this line in 4 straight games. 36 minutes, shot the ball 22 times, only 8 from 22. Obviously got to the free throw line, 11 from the line. I just feel like, honestly, I think the Knicks cover in this game more than 5.5 points. Like I said, this is not a do or die game, and Embiid doesn't have to kill himself in order to win it. And based off what I saw and my history of knee injuries, I can probably assume what Joel Embiid is going through right now. And the aggressiveness, the second guessing yourself as you play the game with an injured knee, I think it's going to be there. And my gut feel, so this isn't backed by data, this is all gut right here, is that Joel Embiid goes under his points line. But he could put together an all-time performance here and somehow still cover this line. So, yeah, I'm a little bit hesitant to take the under in points, but maybe the PRA, because he still went under his PRA in the last game. Hartenstein, Robinson, a lot of big bodies there for the Knicks, making it difficult for Embiid to get some rebounds. So let's look through all of his props and we see where we land. Assists, 5.5, 4 of his last 10, and only 2 of his last 5 against the Knicks. He had 6 assists in that last game, 9 potential assists against the Knicks. The assist prop at 5.5, though, so it's moved up by 1 point. This is at plus money, though. I just don't know if he's going to command the same level of attention given how hobbled he is. Actually, regardless of how hobbit he is, I think he still does. Not going to lie. But it's just going to limit his ability to move. So the 5.5, I don't particularly love. Take it at maybe 4.5, 5.5. I'm not willing to entertain that. And if we look at rebounds, his line's at 10.5. Only had 8 boards against the Knicks last time in head-to-head matchups, covering only 2 of his last 5. If we have a look at his PRA, though, 45.5. So this has gone down by 1 point. His PRA in the first game was 46.5. I feel like the Knicks win this game. They win it convincingly. I don't feel like Embiid's going to be as effective as he was in that first game, hampered by an injury. I would definitely lean to the under in his PRA, but I feel like we can probably find some better plays out there. But I'll add it to my short list anyway. I'll investigate it a little bit further. Let me flip this to the under. 119 as well. The odds aren't great for that. So sports books lowered his line and lowered the odds for that line as well. So that's not good news if we like the under, but I'll take a look at it anyway. Someone who played well in that first game is Tyrese Maxey. So let's take a look at him. His line's at 25.5. He scored 33 points in that last game against New York. He's covered this in 7 out of his last 10. And in head-to-head matchups, he's covered in 5 out of his last 7 games against the Knicks. So 33 points, very impressive. 43 minutes for Maxey. They're the types of playoff minutes I would expect to see him get every single night, unless there's a blowout. Field goals attempts, he took 26 shots in that game, shot 54% from the field, 3 from 9 from deep, and only got to the free throw line once for 2 free throws. So for Tyrese Maxey, I like the points prop, 25.5. I do like it. Embiid, obviously, I think he's going to be more hampered, which really does leave Tyrese Maxey to be the one to step it up. Just looking at his games with Embiid against the Knicks, he's had 4 games against the Knicks with Embiid. He's cashed in 3 out of those 4 games. 2 of those were this season, 27 and 33, which was the last game. So the fact that Embiid's playing, it's not a bad thing. I think Tyrese Maxey's numbers are better with Embiid, to be honest. So effective field goal percentage and shit like that is more effective with Embiid. But I do like the over in his points prop. I think the main concern that I have in this really is the blowout. I feel like the Knicks can just run a train on the 76ers, because keeping in mind, Embiid did get injured. He didn't shoot the best percentage. Tyrese Maxey played very well in this game. But if you look at the other side, Jalen Brunson shot the ball horribly. And if he improves his percentage by 10%, it's lights out. The Knicks win that game by 10 to 15 points. So, I'll have a quick look at, not a quick look, I'll have a look at Tyrese Maxey points, but my concern is there's a potential blowout here because, like I said, the Knicks, the 76ers not expected to win these first 2 games, and they don't have to, right? It's a game series. They could get a healthier Joel Embiid back at home in Philly, and they could look to even it up there. So assist prop for Maxey, 5.5. He's cashed this in 2 of 7 games against the Knicks. Only had 4 assists in that last game. He had 10 potential assists. With that assists with a line of 5.5, I don't love it, to be honest. So, I would lean to the under on that, but purely because of you could say volume and opportunity, no other reason. But if Embiid is a little bit hampered and his usage rate does get lowered, or he doesn't play the same number of minutes, Maxey could get more usage rate, more opportunities to get assists. So, I don't like a play on the assist there for Tyrese Maxey, but his rebound line's at 3.5. It's plus money. Only had 2 boards against the Knicks in the last game. In head-to-head matchups, 2 of his last 7 against the Knicks. He had 8 rebound chances in that game, but he only came away with 2 of them. So, not loving that one either for Tyrese. Now, we've got Kelly Oubre Jr. Killed me. Didn't get close. Took his points and rebounds in the last game. I've actually taken that for 3 consecutive games now for Kelly Oubre. And scoring the ball, he's just not there. I don't know what it is. He's just not making it happen. In head-to-head matchups, covered it extremely well against the Knicks in the past. Partly why I took it, but then only finished with 10 points. He played 38 minutes, so the minutes were there. Shot attempts were not. So my man's just running around playing defense. So not scoring quite well, so I'm hesitant to take that. And if we look at his rebound line, it's 5.5. He only had 3 rebounds in that last game. 12 rebound chances, and he only managed to get 3 rebounds. So the 12 rebound chances in line with his average of 11.7 rebounds, but he's averaging 6.2 rebounds off his 12 rebound chances that last game. was only able to secure 3. So Josh Hart potentially out rebounding my boy here, Kelly Oubre. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Kelly Oubre for this game. I'm not going to say that I'm never going to bet him again. I don't bet that way, but for this particular one, I'm not a huge fan. Next up, we got Toby Harris. His line's at 11.5. He's cashed in 8 of his last 10. Similar to Oubre, last 2 games he has been dreadful. It's, probably just the 2 most important games they've had so far this year, and he's sucked. The minutes are definitely there. Shot attempts are down 10 and 7 in head-to-head matchups. Tobias has struggled in the past against the Knicks. So I would lean to the under on this, but it wouldn't be a fun bet. 11.5 points. He's going to play 35 minutes at least. So the risk of him scoring is always there. His shot attempt volume is very low at the moment, but a flick of a switch or an Embiid injury or whatever it is, Harris's opportunities to score points, they can go up very quickly. Rebound-wise, though, did rebound quite well. Had 9 boards against the Knicks in that last game. His line for this one is 6.5. He had 16 rebound chances with 9 boards. He's covered in 4 of his last 9 against the Knicks. Looking at his last 10 games, he's been rebounding extremely well. 8 out of his last 10 games, he's covered this line of 6.5. So I don't hate this. 14 on average rebound chances. So on 32 minutes, he played 32 minutes against the Knicks in that last game. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 7 to 8 rebounds. He's done it many times before. If we look at his minutes this season, let's muck around with some filters here because I don't mind what we see. Tobias Harris, when he plays at least 32 minutes, is hit at 55% this season. If we look at games, 32 minutes with Joel Embiid, he's hitting on 12 of 24. So, yeah, it really is a recency thing here with Harris, what we're seeing, these numbers. Recent form rebounding is great for Tobias Harris, but that's the only reason you could take this bet because his form against the Knicks isn't great. His form against this number on the season isn't great. He doesn't play extra minutes in the playoffs. So I'm going to have to pass on that. It's my bad, Tobias. Not a big fan, my boy. But Kyle Lowry. So Kyle Lowry had an excellent game. I was watching his lines real close. I was close to betting it, but ultimately did not because of the inconsistency. I didn't know how many opportunities he had. And Kyle Lowry played 39 minutes in that last game, scored 18 points, was excellent. 5 from 9 from the field, 4 from 7 from deep, 4 from 4 from the line, which was a great game. He's hit this now in 2 or 4 games against the Knicks. Now, you can't bet on a role player to get consistent opportunity like that. So, yeah, I'm not particularly keen on betting on Kyle Lowry. Sorry about it. Let's have a look at these New York Knicks. Let's start with Jalen Brunson. Now, I think his points line has moved up. It was 29.5, I believe, in the last game against Philly. He only scored 22 points. Now, when I watched the game and I saw that he was struggling from the field, I thought, well, yeah, obviously he always struggles against Philly because looking at this now, 9 consecutive games against the 76ers, Jalen Brunson's gone under this line. And it's not because he hasn't been trying. If you look at his attempts, there's a lot of high field goal attempts in these games. He just shoots in a lot of them. So if the historical form wasn't like this, you could say, yeah, it was just one bad game for Jalen Brunson. I'll take his over because the volume's going to be there. But unfortunately, the volume has been there in a lot of games. Not like that. 26 shots, not like that. But the volume is there. Has been yet to find his radar against him. So I'd be hesitant to bet his points prop. His recent form is pretty good, but that last game was a little bit concerning, and maybe Philly found a way to defend him. Where Philly were weak, obviously Josh Hart and McBride, they had some really big games. One player I was close to betting was Jalen Brunson's assists, and I'm glad I didn't because I would have fell on the hook. He only had 7 assists in that game. His line is still at 7.5. He's cashed in 6 of his last 10. And against the Knicks, he's had against the 76ers, had some success, covering in 3 of his last 4. Looking at his potential assists, he only had 12 potential assists in that very last game against Philly. And it's hard to get a lot of potential assists when you shoot the ball 26 times. So I would take his assist if I felt like he wasn't going to shoot the ball close to 30 times, but I'm not sure if he can do that, to be honest. I'm not sure if Jalen Brunson can prioritize passing. He's going to stay aggressive. He's going to look for his shot. So, yeah, I can't confidently take a play here on Brunson. I want to take the assist props. In this imaginary world of mine, he learns and trusts his support players to shoot and score, yada, yada, yada. But it's JB. I don't score first mentality. I could see him scoring 35 to 40 points if he just improved his percentages, but his shot percentage is the main concern that I'm worried about. If it was a once off, I would take it, but it's been 9 consecutive games now where he's gone under. I'm not sure if this is the game where he can buck that trend. Now, looking at look at Josh Hart. So he had a great game. 22 points against the 76ers in that last game. 42 minutes, which is actually lower than what he normally plays in the regular season, which is pretty crazy. He shot the ball 12 times, 5 from 12, but he got to the free throw line 10 times. He shot 8 from 10 from the line, 4 from 8 from deep, which is pretty crazy. But he does shoot 43% normally, shot 50% in this game, and quadrupled his attempts, so 8 attempts. I don't know if I could bet his points line. This is a clear outlier where he attempts 8 3-pointers. Looking at his last 20 games, the 8 3-pointers are the most he's attempted, right? So, and I'm pretty sure he attempted all those, maybe because he was making them early. But yeah, I wouldn't take Josh Hart's points prop with any confidence whatsoever. Looking at his rebound prop, though, so that was at 10.5 in the last game. It's now moved to 11.5. He finished on 13 rebounds. He's covered this line in 4 of his last 10 games. Against Philly, he's covered in 4 out of his last 5. So he got 13 rebounds. He didn't play any extra minutes than he normally would. He had 23 chances. Now, he's had 20-plus rebound chances in his last 5 games against Philly, all of those this season. Looking at his last 10 games, averaging 18 rebound chances per game and 9.9 rebounds. So Josh Hart, yeah, I think the rebound chances could be there. If Philly's offense isn't as great and as dynamic as it normally would be with an injured Embiid, there could be more chances here for Josh Hart to get boards. There's also a chance he gets more minutes, believe it or not. He only played 42 minutes. That only leaves him with 6 other minutes to play. But yeah, he plays 42 minutes on the regular. So can we see an uplift in Josh Hart's performance in this one? Potentially. I would lean to the over in this one. But the only reason, if I was to take this bet, I would be taking it is because of his form against Philly and nothing else. I don't expect him to play more minutes than he actually does, 42. I don't expect him to play any more than that. He might get more rebound chances if Philly's offense isn't as clicking. But the other risk to that is if the Knicks' offense is a lot better than it was and Jalen Brunson is making more buckets than he normally would, that's also going to reduce Josh Hart's rebound opportunities. So that last game, he had 4 offensive rebounds, right? And those offensive rebounds won't be there if the Knicks' offense is shooting a lot better. So, yeah, I probably won't. I'm not going to bet on Josh Hart in this game. Looking at his assist prop, though, it's at 4.5, minus 145. It was at 5.5 in the last game. He only had 2 assists, and he only had 4 potential assists. So, I guess in order for him to get 4.5 assists here, I'd like to see at least 10 potential assists, and he hasn't even gotten close to that in quite a long time. So, yeah, not a big fan of betting on anything Josh Hart in this game, I'm sorry to say. We then have DiVincenzo. Let's have a look at Dante. I think he got close to this line. No, he didn't get close to it. He only scored 8 points in that last game, 15.5 points. He only played 24.5 minutes. And the reason why is the Knicks bench. They came on. They provided some great value. DiVincenzo, in those 24 minutes, he shot 3 for 10, 2 for 5 from deep. So didn't have the greatest shooting game. So normally he'd play a lot more minutes than that, almost 40 minutes. So he's someone who got to the playoffs and saw his minutes get slashed. So DiVincenzo I don't know if that's by design or purely because Deuce McBride played well. So that's DiVincenzo. I'd be a little bit cautious to bet on him. I don't know what's happening there. It could be a playoff thing, prioritizing defense maybe. I do not know. But let's have a look at Miles McBride, because I know that if he gets the right number of minutes, similar to like Cole Anthony, pound for pound, like points per minute, he does pretty well. So looking in his last 10 games, he's got 12.6 points per game, scored 21 points in that last game against Philly. I do not expect a repeat of that, but he played 28 minutes in that game. He shot 7 from 12, 5 from 7 from deep. So absolutely cooking the 76ers in head-to-head matchups. He's played them 8 times. He's covered this line 4 times, but his minutes somewhat inconsistent. 28 minutes against Philly in that last game. I feel like that's a lot higher than you would normally expect it to be. But yeah, 8.5 points is nothing. That's 3 3-pointers, right? So he takes 10 shots. 60% of his shots are from deep. So you only need 3 of those to hit, which means you need him to shoot 50%. shooting 40%, but you've got an added 4 2-point attempts and free throws to get him over this 8.5. So I don't mind that for McBride. I'm not reacting to the 21 points. I just think if the opportunity is going to be there and he plays about 25 minutes, I can see him cashing. But let's have a look at his assists and rebounds because apparently those are juicy. Yes, they are. 1.5 assists is his line. He's cashed in 9 out of his last 10 games, which is crazy. In head-to-head matches, he's covered in his last 3 games against the 76ers. So and all of those games were in the last 8 weeks. So Miles McBride assists, I reckon I could get around that. So that's looking pretty good. It doesn't matter how many minutes this guy plays, whether it's 40 minutes or 14 minutes, he's covering this line, which is pretty good. A lot of hockey assists. So let me take a look at Miles McBride or Deuce McBride. Looking at his rebound line, that is also at 1.5. He's cashed that in 9 of his last 10, had 3 rebounds in that last game. And in head-to-head matchups, he's covered in his last 2. Where are the games this year from here? So he's covered in 3 out of 5 games this year. A lot of these games, he only played 15 minutes. I think he gets more than 15 minutes in this game. Rebound chances aren't typically high. So I do like his assist prop, I would say the most. Or maybe his points prop, actually. I'm not too sure about that. I'll look into all of them. But I think this is similar to Peyton Pritchard as well. If the Knicks come out and dominate, McBride could get even more minutes than he normally would. So we could have a same game parlay here for McBride to go over points, over assists, and over rebounds. You can get that probably about plus 500, plus 600 perhaps. So I don't mind the value there on Miles McBride. G. Anunoby, I ain't never bet on him. I'm not going to waste time looking at him. Sorry about it. Let's have a look at Bogdanovic. I think he had a great game off the bench. He should average more than 10 points per game this series. So off the bench, lines at 10.5. He's cashed in 6 of his last 10, scored 13 points in that last game against Philly. In head-to-head matchups this season, he's played them 4 times since joining the Knicks, covering in 2 out of those 4 games. Pretty consistent in his minutes, around 20 to 25 minutes a game. That last game, he only played 24 minutes. He shot the ball 12 times. Every 2 minutes, his man was putting up a shot. He made 4 of them, 3 from 6 from downtown, and even got to the free throw line, but only shot 50% from the line. So a pretty crafty scorer. He's a veteran. 10.5 points does seem quite low, in my opinion. If they need some offense, this man can bring it. I honestly don't hate this. I don't hate this 10.5. I just feel like the minutes will be there, about 20 to 25 minutes. Let's have a look at his season form, actually. Look at his season where he plays at least 20 minutes. He's covered in 35 of 40 games where he plays at least 20 minutes, which is pretty good. Out of the 5 games where he's gone under, 3 of them were in his last 5 games. So his last 5 are the ones we want to look at. Last games where he played those minutes. Chicago. Actually, that was after his injury now. So, yeah, I don't believe he's got any injuries whatsoever. Yeah, that Chicago game was his first game back from injury. Had about 3 weeks off. Then he versed Boston and got jiggy with it. Back against Philly and producing. So, yeah, I think this 10.5 is quite low for Bogdanovic. I'm going to muck around and find out here. So, yeah, I think a lot of these Knicks will see some unexpected contributors and scorers in this game, unless the risk to a lot of these players is Jalen Brunson. If Jalen Brunson is making shots, McBride, Bogdanovic, it might not matter. So, yeah, let's see where I end up on this one. But, yeah, quite a few to go through. Embiid's unders, Maxi's overs. Nothing I like on Brunson, nothing I like on Hart, McBride, and Bogdanovic, some other ones that I'll be looking further into. So let's see where we land. Now let's jump into the last game because I've been recording for almost an hour. We're looking at the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Denver Nuggets, LeBron, AD, game time decisions. I don't even know why they still got that label. It's the bloody playoffs. You didn't get injured in the last game. Just suck it up. Anyway, the line's at 7.5. Denver Nuggets are the favorites. The total points line is 223. So a lot higher than the other 2 games, almost 20 points higher. So expected minutes. Now, I read the last game somewhat wrong against these teams. I had Murray over in points. He went over in assists. Jokic managed to score a lot more points. Michael Porter Jr. had his rebounds line. That hit. LeBron James assists. I remember I had got hooked on that one because he had 5 assists in the first quarter and finished the game with 8. So that didn't go my way, and I had Austin Reeves to go over in points, and he got very close and did not cash. So the way that I read that game wasn't right, obviously. I got a lot of the bets wrong. So hopefully we can do a better job this time. So I'm no good at capping sides and totals, but history tells me that the Nuggets are going to win this one and cover the line as well. I think they covered all games against the Lakers by 8 points or more this season. They won game 1 by 11 points. They swept them last year in the playoffs. Denver are better offensively and defensively. I feel like if the Lakers were going to get an upset against Denver in Denver, it would have been in game 1. But that's a very casual approach to look at the game. I've got no real facts or figures around that. But let's jump into the players and look at the volume, look at their attempts, minutes, and see if we can find anything juicy in them. Let's start with these Los Angeles Lakers, though. We'll go with LeBron James first. Now, LeBron, in terms of stats, yeah, he put up a pretty good stat line. Got a lot of boards, points, assists. He was filling it up. The problem with LeBron, a lot of these lines can be quite high. So his points line's at 25.5. Covered in 5 of his last 10. Scored 27 points in that first game against Denver. Played for 40 minutes, the old fella. He's now covered in 6 of 11 games against Denver. Looking at the field goals, he only attempted 16 shots in that game. 10 from 16, so it was quite strong. 3 from 5 from deep, 60%, which is excellent. He only got to the free throw line 5 times. He shot 4 from 5 from the field, though. So I think in terms of volume, LeBron definitely has more potential. I think my concern for this is his legs. Does he have the run in him? Does he still have the stamina to put up these types of shots? Looking at his last 10, yeah, he has. He took 20 shots against the Pels, 20 shots against Memphis, 22 shots against the Warriors. So for him, only taking 16 shots against the Denver Nuggets, yeah, I feel like that's quite low. Looking at historical numbers, his shot attempts against Denver, 16 is tied with the lowest amount of shots he's taken against Denver in the last 11 games he's played against them. He's taken 16 shots against the Nuggets on 3 different occasions. And in all 3 of those occasions, he lost. I'm assuming. Yes. So LeBron's going to have to put up some more shots. I wonder when was the last time they beat the Nuggets. Flicking back through here. Here we go. It was back in 2022. LeBron shot the ball 21 times. So the last 2 times he beat the Nuggets, he covered the line and he shot the ball 20 plus times. So might be a casual take, but hopefully LeBron, you're watching. I know you stay close to the socials. If you're going to win this game, my friend, you need to shoot the ball at least 20 times. And if you shoot the ball 20 times, you're going to cover this points line. So yeah, I don't hate this points line for LeBron James. Yeah, he's old, but he's got the that we've ever seen out of a basketball player. So I don't mind the points line here for LeBron. His assist line is at 8.5. So I did take this last time. His numbers look great. 6 of his last 11 games against the Denver Nuggets. And in his last 10 games, 6 out of his last 10. Especially in the playoffs last year. He covered this assist line in all 4 games in the playoffs against Denver last year. Part of the reason why I took it this year, but he is a year older. I was foolish. But check this out. He had 18 potential assists in that last game, which was higher than 3 out of the 4 games in the playoff series last year. The challenge for the Lakers is that a lot of those players didn't make shots. Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell didn't shoot the best. It was pretty poor, to be honest. AD played quite well, not going to lie. He scored the ball quite well. LeBron had over 8.5 assists. I'm considering running it back. I am honestly considering running it back. I think a player that I could take is his points and assists over 33.5. And the reason why I'd probably consider that is hopefully he takes more shots, right? Hopefully we can get to 20 shot attempts and he could score 28 to 29 points if those shot attempts do increase. The other reason there is if he doesn't take more shot attempts and he finishes at about 25 points, the potential assists are there. And the Lakers, you would assume, have to shoot better in this game. If they do shoot better in this game, he's going to rack up these assists. The problem is they haven't shot very well. So, yeah, I don't mind the points plus assists here for LeBron James. I'll obviously look into both of these a bit further, but I think the combination of both could cover on both ends because the potential assists are currently there. The Lakers just aren't making the shots, and LeBron's only shooting the ball 16 times. So, depending on if he prioritizes scoring, I think I can see him covering this line. If he continues to do what he does and delegates to his teammates because he doesn't have that killer mentality that that Mike and Kobe do, then we could potentially cover this with a high volume of assists anyway. But if he's passing the ball and the Lakers aren't shooting, he's an idiot. Just shoot it yourself, my friend. You're shooting 60% from the field. Anyway, let's have a quick look at LeBron's rebounds. Line's at 7.5, had 6 boards against him in the last game, 4 out of his last 10. In head-to-head matchups, he's covered in 6 out of 11. In terms of LeBron's rebound chances, only had 11 rebound chances in that game. So I do not like this rebound line whatsoever, especially at those rebound chances. I learned a long time ago not to take LeBron James for unders because he will kill you. So I don't like the boards, but I'm not going to take the unders on LeBron. No. Points plus assists, I am willing to entertain though. Let's have a look at Anthony Davis, over 24.5 points. Played well, 32 points against him in the last game. He's covered in 4 of his last 10. He's only covered in 4 of his last 11 against Denver. In his career, in his last 11 games, Anthony Davis is yet to back strong performance on against the Denver Nuggets. And this might even help with a LeBron play, right? I don't think Anthony Davis can back that up with another 30-point outing. If Anthony Davis can't score, someone like Austin Reeves or LeBron James have to pick up that scoring load. But I don't like the points line here for AD purely because I'm not a big fan of AD. He's highly inconsistent. His mindset's not as strong as I would like it to be. And he's let me down a few times. I'm not going to lie. But I would bet the under here purely from not looking at the numbers, betting the under, just knowing he hasn't been able to put consistent performances up against the Denver Nuggets. He played 44 minutes in that last game. He shot the ball 23 times, which is ultra aggressive. In head-to-head matchups, he shot 20-plus attempts against the Denver Nuggets on 3 different occasions. Those were in the playoffs last year. He then followed that up with a 4 from 15 performance. And then this season, he had one game where he shot 14 from 27, which is, excellent. The next time he played the Denver Nuggets, he only shot the ball 13 times. So is this a Denver Nuggets setting up a scheme to limit Anthony Davis, to force the ball out of his hands? I don't know the reason behind it, but the trend here is that he's not putting back-to-back games up against the Denver Nuggets. So, yeah, I would lean to the under here for no other reason than that. And there's no real data to tell you why he goes under. That is just my personal opinion. So I'm just not going to take a bet on Anthony Davis points prop. The time to risk being a genius or a dickhead is not now. Maybe later through the playoffs, I'll bet on things like that. But for now, I've got enough leans as there is. Looking at his assists, though, he had 5 assists in that last game against Denver, which is great. He's covered this in 6 of his last 10, 6 of his last 11 against the Denver Nuggets. 5 assists is great. Can you do that again? Sure. The line is only at 2.5, though, but it's at minus 142, and at those odds, I wouldn't look at this play. Looking at his rebounds, though, 12.5 is the line. He's covered in 7 out of his last 10. 7 of his last 10. 14 rebounds in that last game. He's now covered in 6 of 11 games against the Denver Nuggets. He did play a lot of minutes, 44 minutes in that game, which is crazy. I think it's too early to be suffering from fatigue in a series, but let's look at the games against Denver where he plays at least 40 minutes. He's covered this in 4 out of his last 5. Looking at the regular season, in games where he plays more than 40 minutes, he's covered this line in 13 of 17 games. The games he went under: Sacramento, Memphis, OKC, and the Clippers. But yeah, 40 minutes for AD. What happens if we move to 42? 5 of 6 games he's covered this season. So that does improve the hit rate a little bit. And in head-to-head matches, so that last game against Denver was the first time in his last 11 games where he's played that many minutes. So, yeah, I don't know. The rebound line, I honestly don't mind for Anthony Davis. I don't mind it. Can he get through 40 minutes? Potentially not. Actually, if I'm right and he doesn't play well offensively, could limit his just opportunities within the game in general. I'm not leaning on Anthony Davis. No. Let's have a look at Austin Reeves, though. So I did bet on Austin Reeves in that last game, over 14.5 points. He only finished on 13. The line is now 13.5 points. So let's look into this a bit better. 5 of his last 10, and look at this line. Obviously, this is why I bet his over, right? He had hit in like 8 or 9 consecutive games against the Lakers. 8 of his last games against the Nuggets, he had hit on. So I took the bet at 14.5. Deliver at 13.5 points now. Could be an opportunity to get on there. 37 minutes he played. In that game, he only shot the ball 9 times, 5 from 9 from the field. So he shot 56%. He shot well, just didn't get volume, right? Looking at his attempts, he was 2 from 6 from downtown, 33%. Against the Nuggets over the last, how many games is this? 11 games, shooting 47% from 3. That 33%, one of the lower performances he's had. If we look at his last 10 games, he's shooting 35% from 3. So The 33% is not too different to what he has been averaging over his last 10. So his field goal percentage is down. His field goal attempts, 9. That's down on the 11 that he has been averaging. So if we're looking at the law of averages here, I think Austin Reeves takes more shots than he did in that first game. And he covers this line. So I'll add this to my short list. I'm not overly confident on it, but I don't know. There's this thing where I bet on a player and he goes under and then the line moves. A lot of the time there's a bounce back game. So there could be a bounce back here for Austin Reeves. Looking at his assist line of 4.5, 5 of his last 10. Now, I did not like that line for the last game. He only finished on 3, so thank God I didn't like it. He only had 3 potential assists too. So his usage rate with the ball is not as high as you would like. LeBron, obviously getting a lot of those. So, yeah, Austin Reeves, just the points line I might take. I'll look further into that. Then we have D'Lo. Oh, the memes on D'Lo are rough. I hope you guys have seen it. It's a picture of him with shit at the back of his shorts because he shits himself in the playoffs. Now, D'Lo's covered his points line of 15.5 in 6 of his last 10 games, only had 13 against Denver. We look at head-to-head matchups. He's cashed in only 1 of 7 games against the Nuggets. So he's clearly had some difficulties here against Denver. Let's look a little bit further into that last game. Despite how poorly he played, he still played 41 minutes. He shot 6 from 20 from the field. So that's where Austin Reeves' shots have gone. D'Lo's been taking them and not making them. He shot 1 from 9 from deep. Didn't make any free throws. Yeah, so just a really poor game here from D'Lo. But the 40 minutes is an interesting stat. If we look at the season, D'Lo playing at least 40 minutes a night, we can see that he's covered this points line in 8 of 9 games prior to that Denver game. 8 of 8 games. So that was the 9th game and the only game where he went under. If we look at these games, he's taking 20 shot attempts on average if he plays 40 minutes a night. He took 20 shots against Denver and he just shot the ball poorly. He shot this poorly against Milwaukee Bucks in the end of March. But in that game, he shot 5 from 12 from deep and he got to the free throw line 10 times. Unfortunately, against Denver, hasn't been able to make that happen. So, yeah, I'd like to bet on a D'Lo bounce back, to be honest. The opportunities are there. He should get close to 20 points on the volume alone. Could he possibly shoot that badly in back-to-back games, though? That is the question. Now, he's played against Denver with 40 minutes once. I'm just checking to see those games against Denver in the past. A lot of these games were low, even though they're in the playoffs. The last 2 games in the playoffs, he got bugger all minutes. These 2 games, he had more minutes, but not like he's getting here. He's getting starters minutes right now. He shoots 34%, though. So he's had tough games against Denver every single time. So on volume alone, I would like to take the over. The shot percentage is not there, and it never has been against Denver. So now, yeah, I'm quite hesitant. So hopefully he does bounce back. Give us something interesting to bet on in the next game. But that's maybe when he goes back to LA, we can have a look at it. His assist props at 5.5, 6 out of his last 10 games, and he struggled against Denver, 1 of his last 7. The 3 assists he got came off 6 potential assists. That's down on his average of 9.7 potential assists. So all things related to D'Lo are not looking good. So I think looking at this, AD rebounds, that's one that I would consider. Austin Reeves points, LeBron points plus assists. They're the key ones that I do like for the Los Angeles Lakers. I think one thing that could get some runtime in this game is someone like Spencer Dinwiddie. If the Nuggets are going to smash the Lakers, not smash them, but win convincingly. So Dinwiddie got 13 minutes in that last game. If the game's not competitive, Dinwiddie might get a little bit more. But he's had 2 games against Denver. 1 game he played 10, he had 3 points, though, so that's not super impressive. Assists, his line's at 1.5 plus money. He had 1 assist against Denver in that last game. The game where he played 20 minutes, he had 3 assists in that game. So 1.5, it is plus money, but now you're just getting desperate. It's not like this is the only game on the slate, so I'll get the hell out of him. And let's jump into these Denver Nuggets, shall we? All right, what do we got? Where's the big man? Nikola Jokic. So I read this game wrong for the Nuggets. I thought Jokic would get his assist because that's what he's historically done against the Lakers, and Murray would score because that's what he's done, especially in the playoffs. Roles were reversed. Jokic scored a lot of points. Murray got a lot of assists. So let's see how things look and whether we can predict something. If I can't get a good read on what could happen, I probably just won't bet on Jokic or Murray. His points line is 26.5. He's covered in 6 out of his last 10. He's covered in 6 out of his last 12 against the Lakers. last 2 games against the Lakers, he scored 30 plus points. That last game, he scored 32 in 39 minutes. He shot 15 from 23 from the field, super efficient. He only got to the free throw line once, shot 1 from 2 from the line. So extremely efficient night here for Nikola Jokic, and didn't even have to get to the line to make it happen. Now, does Nikola Jokic continue to play in this aggressive manner to score some points? Well, yeah, you would assume so, right? Because it's worked. But at the same time, games where he hasn't scored the ball very well, the Denver Nuggets have beat the Lakers anyway. So this is why this makes it so difficult for me. Do the Lakers adjust something here to force Nikola Jokic to pass? Well, I don't think they want him to pass. The last thing you want is Nikola Jokic getting 10 to 15 assists, and you have all these other guys from the Nuggets getting buckets, getting fired up with some energy. So I don't know. From a Lakers point of view, they probably would prefer Nikola Jokic score some points, and they shut down everybody else. But yeah, this is a very difficult read for me when it comes to Jokic. Points and assists, I couldn't tell you what he does. He had 7 assists in that last game against the Lakers. He only had 12 potential assists. That's his tied with the second lowest potential assist volumes he's had in 12 games against the Los Angeles Lakers, which means he's just scoring, right? He's just putting points up. One thing you could fuck around with, though, for Nikola Jokic is potentially points plus assists. Now, he's cashed those in his last 2 games, 6 out of his last 12 against the Los Angeles Lakers. Looking at his last 10, 5 out of his last 10. So, yeah, I think the points plus assists is really relevant to his last 2 games against LA. He went over his points line, went under his assists line, but those 2 together are bangers. Yeah, look, for Nikola Jokic, I can't tell you what he's going to do in offense. Points, assists, the lines are high. And if you're going to bet on someone with such high lines, you've got to get that shit right, because you need a full 35 to 40 minutes out of them producing the way you expect them to, in order to hit them. Looking at his rebound line, it's 12.5. He only had 12 boards in that last game against LA, 23 rebound chances. He's covered in 7 of his last 12 games against them. The 23 rebound chances is a little bit higher than what his average is, averaging 22.1 rebound chances. So, yeah, look, I'd probably lean to the over here, but that's only because I'm leaning Denver to win by more than 7.5 points. Lakers to potentially struggle more in this game. But yeah, I can't bet on Nikola Jokic, to be honest, in this game with any confidence. So let's jump in. Let's jump into Jamal Murray. Where is he? Here he is, hiding at the bottom. Jamal Murray's points line, 24.5. I did take that line in the last game. It did not work. He cashed in with 22 points only. He's hit in 2 of his last 10 and 6 of his last 12 against the Lakers. In good news, Jamal Murray played 39 minutes. He had only played 25 minutes in the prior 2 games to close out the season. What else did we see from Jamal Murray in that game? He made 9 shots. He shot the ball 24 times, though. That's what I'm talking about. Shoot it 24 times. He only shot the ball 38% from the field, though. Looking at his last 10 games, he shot under 50% in half of them. He shot under 40% in 3 of them. And those games he shot quite poorly. 38% from the field, 9 from 24, 4 from 9 from deep, though, so 44%. So where he struggled was attacking the rack and potentially those mid-ranges. So in volume alone, Jamal Murray shooting 24 shots against the Lakers. If he's going to shoot the ball that many times, how do you not take him for points, right? So, yeah, look, I think I might run it back with Jamal Murray, to be honest. You can't see him doing the exact same thing. I'll take a closer look at his points prop, because that volume is nice. 24 shots is good. 24 shots to get 24.5 points. I'll take that every day of the week. I'm telling you, I'll get that. I'll get it right at least 4. Let's look at his assists, though. His line for assists is 7.5. In head-to-head matchups, he's cashed 10 plus assists in 3 straight games against the Los Angeles Lakers, which is wild, because prior to that, 9 consecutive games he had gone under. That last game, he had 18 potential assists. Now, Jokic had only 12 potential assists. So Murray definitely creating on offense. In his last 10 games, 3 of his last 10, he's only hit, prior to that 18 potential assists, he wasn't getting that busy. Now, I want to look on the season. Jamal Murray, if he plays at least, let's go to 38 minutes. He's cashed this line in 6 of 8 games with an average of 12.6 potential assists. So that 18 potential assists is a massive outlier. Probably the most that he's had so far this season while playing this many minutes. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe the points and assists here. Similar to Jokic, the points plus assists could save us. Now, he did have 22 points, 10 assists. So he went under this line in that last game, but he missed a shit ton of shots. If we look at the head-to-head stuff, points plus assists, he's cashed in 6 of his last 12. So this isn't the greatest either. What it does cover off is 3 out of the 4 playoff games last year, but in all 4 of those games, he covered his points prop. That's all. So Jamal Murray to get more assists. Yeah, I could see it happening because he could get another 10 assists and he could shoot the ball better as well. Man, I am not sure here. I might run back to 24.5 points because I don't think he can get any more than the 10 assists. Those 18 potential assists, surely there's only a regression, meaning he's going to get less potential assists moving forward. He honestly couldn't back that up with another 10 assist game, could he? What I do know is based on the number of shots that he's taking, he could definitely make more baskets, right? 24 shots. Yeah. So I do like his points prop a lot better. I know rebounding the ball, he did that quite well in that last game. 6 boards, 8 of his last 12 games against the Lakers, he's covered this rebound line. He had 14 potential rebound chances, which is the most he's had in 12 games against the Lakers. So again, similar to his assist prop, he could see some regression in this area. That's not the baseline that we're working off. 14 rebound chances. He's averaging 9.2 rebound chances in his last 12 games against the Lakers. So, yeah, not loving the rebound prop despite him rebounding well. I don't think he'll get the same number of chances in this game. That's all I'm saying. And he probably could, and he might do it. But when it comes to sports betting, right, where you win the most money is on the bets you choose not to take. So if I can find a reason not to take a bet, I'm not going to take it because I don't know how many players we've gone through. We've gone through players on this video alone, and hopefully I only end up with 6 to 8 players to bet on. Hopefully 6, right? And eliminate a lot of others in the process. Let's talk about MPJ. Getting close to an hour and a half here. MPJ had 19 points in that last game. His line's at 17.5. 37 minutes in head-to-head matchups. 3 of his last 10 games against the Lakers, he's covered this line. So last 3 games, really, he's covered. In those games, his minutes very similar, averaging 34 a night. He played almost 38 in that last game. He shot the ball 15 times, which is not too far off his average. He did shoot 53% from the field, though, which is good. It's higher than his average. 3 from 7 from deep. So, yeah, I'm not loving MPJ's points line, to be honest. Don't love that. Nothing convincing in there that tells me he'll definitely do it again. The 53%, somewhat of an outlier. Doesn't do that very often, especially against the Lakers. Looking at the season, he shot 49% from the field this season. So he shot a little bit higher than his average. There could be some regression there for MPJ. And which, you know, if he misses one shot, if he makes one less basket, that puts him at 17 points and under this points line. So I think this line is sharp. It's right where it needs to be. I don't have no confidence betting either side of it. I bet his first quarter points in that last game. I'm not doing that anymore. Pissed that right off. Yeah, he scored 2 points, but he has covered in 7 of his last 10 games against the Lakers. But let's look at his rebound line. So his line has moved down. It was at 7.5. It's down to 6.5 now. He got 8 rebounds in that last game against the Lakers. 10 out of 10 games, he's covered the 6.5. Now, I'd probably take this at 7.5 plus 115. We're getting plus money for it. 8 out of his last 10 games. Now, if we look at the chances, he only had 11 rebound chances in that game against the Lakers. And normally that doesn't worry me too much because MPJ doesn't get too many contested rebounds. It's usually if Nikola Jokic is taken out of the play, someone like MPJ can pick up the boards. Aaron Gordon going to have his hands full with LeBron James. And Jokic has AD. MPJ is going to have nobody crashing the glass on him. So a lot of these are going to be uncontested rebounds for Michael Porter Jr. So I like everything about this bet. The only thing I don't like about it is that the sports books have moved this line down to 6.5, and then they've given us plus money, and that makes me a little bit nervous. But the line opened at 6.5. It's moved up. It's moved down. So it is bouncing a little bit. I think it's worth taking the plunge here. 7.5 at plus money. I'll add that to my short list, investigate it a little bit further, and let's see where we land with MPJ. We then have Aaron Gordon. Now, Aaron Gordon, I was close to betting his assist prop in the last game. And the reason I was going to bet his assist prop because of his recent form. Check out his last 10 games. This is his points line. I've got no interest betting his points line. So let's just jump to his assists. So now his line's at 4.5. Damn it. His line was at 3.5 in the last game, and you could see the hit rate would have been awesome. but it was really just a recency bias. He had 7 assists against the Lakers in that most recent matchup. In head-to-head matchups, he's covered in 5 of his last 12. From this season onwards, he's covered in 3 out of 4 games against the Los Angeles Lakers. Looking at his potential assists, 8 potential assists in that last game. Finished with 7. So I don't know who the hell he's passing to, but whoever he's passing to, I want that guy on my team because he ain't missing that many shots. So his potential assists aren't through the roof. 4.5 assists here for Aaron Gordon is plus money. I definitely would have taken it in the game 1, but I missed it. I bitched it. I don't know what to call it, but I did not take it. And yeah, I don't want to be somebody who takes the bet just because the player got 7 assists in the last game. So he got 7 assists, 8 potential assists. Now I want to crunch some numbers real quick. Looking at Aaron Gordon on the season, 74 games. In 74 games, potential assists, and he averaged 3.5 potential assists. Now I've got to do some mathematics here to figure out what the ratio is. And off the top of my dome, 3.59, let's go 3.6, 5.7. You look at about 63% for Aaron Gordon. So Aaron Gordon converts 63% of his potential assists into actual assists, right? So let's look at his last 10 games. He's getting 7.2 potential assists. 63% of that is... You wouldn't believe it. I've just crunched some numbers. 63% of the 7.2 potential assists that Aaron Gordon is averaging is 4.5. And his line for this is 4.5. The good thing here is we're getting Aaron Gordon at plus money, plus 130. This should be, in my retarded calculations, minus 110. So I think this is still a good opportunity here if you can get Aaron Gordon at these odds based off those bullshit numbers I just crunched. But if we look at how he's gone against the Lakers, perhaps, and run a similar example, he's averaging 3.3 assists, 5.1 potential assists. But if we just look at the games this season, he's had 10, 12, 19, 27. 27 divided by 4 is, what, 6.75? So 6.75 potential assists divided by his 63% hit rate is lower than 4.5, but his actual assist to potential assist ratio is higher than 63%. Anyway, you didn't tune into this to watch some math. I'm fucking taking a look at Aaron Gordon's assist prop, and I'll probably take it, right? So I'll dive into that. I'll do the math behind closed doors so you don't have to deal with it, and we'll see where we land. But yeah, there's not too many other players that I'm keen on previewing right now. An hour and a half of recording time, and your boy's getting fatigued as hell. So I do need to dive into these bets in my own time. See if we can find us some winners. If not, hopefully the research alone was enough to get you excited and give you enough information for all of these bets. I want to plug my Discord group. I haven't plugged the Discord group for 3 to 4 months. I don't even talk about it on this video, but conscious that you guys are going to want to ask a lot of questions, get quicker responses. It's so much easier to get hold of me on the Discord, as much as I try to reply to every comment on YouTube. So the link to Discord is in the video description below. It's pretty active, almost 2,000 members. We talk a lot of smack, talk rubbish throughout the game. So you can jump into the Discord completely free. Not like all these other guys. I don't have a paid service. I'm not telling you if you want higher hit rates, join our Discord site. None of that shit is happening. The pics I put on Discord are the same that I put on YouTube. The Discord group is purely there to communicate. It's a community where we can talk trash, talk about our bets, share insights. So feel free to jump in that. It's completely free. If you want to support me and the work that I do, there are a couple of ways you could do it. A lot of those links in the video description do help me out. You can sign up to Outlier, 7-day free trial. If you do happen to subscribe to the service, I get a small little bit of commission. You could also jump in and be a Daft Previews All-Star. I think there's about 11 to 12 of you guys already. It's like a $5 per month to subscribe to support me and all the things that I do. But the other way to do it is to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. So I'm going to start diving into these plays, lads. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I appreciate you've made it this far. Best of luck. Peace.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the June daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.